Okay, I think we are recording the session, and I would just like to say thank you to Marianne van der Laarse, who agreed to do this webinar for the MySAFOST organizers, Nicole and Aniska, who's also having a graduation today. But yeah, Marianne has been actually involved in a lot of activities with SAFOST already, and that is really great. She's always ready to help and assist with all the young professionals and helping them with finding jobs or knowing what to do. We have all the career road shows where she's been active. So thank you very much for your time today. And thank you also for doing this presentation for us. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Ingrid. Wonderful to be here and wonderful to have all of the young energy that our industry so desperately need with us in this webinar. Yeah, when Nicole approached me and asked me to do, if I see my way open to do a presentation on helping students and graduates with a good CV and what's necessary to have a good CV. I immediately said yes, because obviously this is what we do. We are in the recruitment space, but we're very much in the graduate development space. So, this is a topic that we know a lot about, and I really always enjoy sharing information. And when we talked about the topic for today's webinar, then we arrived at a very, I would say, diplomatic student alert, growing your career with a punchy CV. And I actually kind of like it. But thinking of the current situation, and for us at AgriJob receiving so many CVs every day, there's a very small percentage of those CVs who I believe are a document that we can use to sell. And that sounds awful, but to present or to connect a candidate with a company. So I would say that the more aggressive topic should actually be Mayday, Mayday, this is your last chance to get a job. In other words, make sure you have a good CV. So let's get going. As we go along, you are welcome to put up your hands and ask some questions, but just take into consideration, although I'm quite comfortable to use the technologies, sometimes because of my sort of engagement, and I'm really passionate about my industry and your industry and my topic, that I might miss, a hand going up. So afterwards, we will definitely make time for some questions. Okay, so let's get going. So often in our line of business, we just hear and we see on our own laptop screens, all the CVs coming in, and also on the AgriJob website. And unfortunately, there's a very harsh reality that on the one hand, graduates struggle to find an entry-level job or an internship opportunity. But on the other hand, us at AgriJob, we often engage with the industry, and they will continue to tell us they struggle to find high-quality candidates and therefore high-quality graduates. So if we can answer this question, which I hope will be possible with as we move through this presentation, it is necessary for us to understand that there is a disconnect. On the one hand, there are many thousands of graduates, struggling to find jobs, and on the other hand, there's a demand. Industry says, well, we struggle to find good people. So let's quickly go to the situation of who's studying agriculture and food today. I'm not going to share any statistics or any graphs, But I just would like to make sure that you understand that, the graduate profile is evolving. And, we've already mentioned that, the food industry, and especially in food science, there tend to be, more women studying food science and technology, which is obviously great, but we also need men. But a very interesting trend not only in the food industry or in food science, in general agriculture, from horticulture to animal science to agriculture economics, even animal science, what we see happening is that more and more females are studying towards agricultural and food qualifications and less males. So that's a very interesting trend. In the food industry, I'm proud to say that the industry is not gender sensitive, or not sensitive is the wrong word, but not gender averse. They love women because the women have proven themselves over the years, but they also need men. There are some production jobs, positions in factory, in manufacturing, that really require the stamina and the grit that we know that men have. So our approach is really to promote the agriculture and the food industry as a wonderful space for both males and females. But very interesting to note that females are definitely on the increase. So this brings us now to why do some graduates land jobs easily and while others struggle? And this is what we hope to answer towards the end of this presentation, and hopefully that I can give you some guidance to understand that there is something that you can start doing as from today to avoid a situation where you end up qualifying and struggling to find a job. To just emphasize, the seriousness of the struggle. And that's one of the reasons why the industry is saying they are struggling to find high quality graduates, because they expect graduates walking, into their companies with 2 to 3 years experience. Where and how? And that is the challenging part. However, there are some solutions, and yes, this presentation is about CVs. This is exactly what we're going to talk about. But this forms such a very important part of the whole CV discussion, is the content in your CV. So why your CV matters, and not only when you graduate or when you start working, but why your CV matters now. That is very important, because as we move along, you'll see this is the reason why you need a CV as from today, because you are already building your CV. So when we look at a basic CV, it is so important to understand that the first impressions count. There are so many different templates, and we're going to focus, for a while on templates. But you need to stand out. And that is the most important aspect to understand about a CV. My colleague, Mayela van der Arend, she's also has joined us. She's also in this session. So we really struggle when we have to work through so many CVs, when we have advertised the job and how we must do the screening and evaluating. And sometimes it's hard to see, there are so few, CVs that really stand out. So this is why it's so important for you to take note of what we are sharing and trying to tell you today. And the other most important thing is, and you'll see this, surfacing again and again, is your CV must reflect who you are and what you've done and what you can offer. Yes, because it's your marketing document. So your CV is your personal marketing tool, your marketing brochure, but the CV is about you, yes, but the CV must speak to the job that you applied for. So there are so many examples of a graduate or actually a candidate who already have some experience. For instance, let's use an example in R&D or in research. And so then the CV only, speaks about the research, and also in the profile summary of the candidate, I've got a research background and I'm passionate about research. However, the position that the person applied for is for technical sales, let's say in a seed company. And if you don't at least offer some solution to the company that you will be able to take up the role of a technical salesperson, it's going to be hard for the reader of your CV to understand that. More about that in a few minutes. So when we look at templates, so at AgriJob, we do not make a recommendation or send you a template and you must do your CV on that template. And we have a very good reason for that. Unlike most recruitment agencies, AgriJob has opted over the years, for many, many years, to rather submit the candidate's original CV to the company for many reasons. Because your CV, again, is your document. It's telling the reader of your CV who this person is. And as we've already pointed out, what you can offer. So that's why we decided that candidates must use their own templates, and we don't mind to give advice if we pick up in the CV, there's maybe some misrepresentation or maybe some information that's lacking, but it is your choice which template you would like to use. And the internet, there are so many, templates available, but there are a few basic rules. Keep it simple and clean. Some, of these CV templates, and I think once they would, or maybe still is there, Microsoft, they also have CV templates. And I just recall this template with lots of balls and balloons flowing all over, the pages, where you sometimes hardly can read, what's happening. So, that's really actually annoying to receive such a CV, because it's also, not sharing anything positive. It's just, all these big balloons in your face. So keep in mind, I know some people really enjoy, design and they love to do it, but keep it simple and clean. And also avoid elaborate graphics. The thing is, you need to, the CV must do its job, is to tell the reader of the CV who this person is and what this person can offer, and match your personality. I think that's very important. There are really some more conservative templates, and there are some sort of really eye-catching design templates, and that's what's so nice. You can select a template that's matching your personality, but just, again, keep it simple and clean. We will also talk again about fonts, but please just use consistent fonts and spacing. And this is really something that everybody who compiles his or her CV should know. You should really know. Any document that you put out in public or, for a specific application, use consistent fonts. It's really not that hard to do that. But yeah, the mere fact that I need to mention it demonstrates how much, Mayela and I are struggling, with CVs that's really not neat, because there are so many basic, problems in the CV. Yes, again, here it is. You must stand out, because your CV is the first knock on the door. And this is the first impression that your potential employer will get. Keep it simple and do it yourself. It's your own CV. We have encountered, so many CVs that we can see has not been compiled by the individual behind the CV. When we look at, today, it's so easy. we will get to the details of that. But, with AI, you can really draft a wonderful CV. But unfortunately, it's not really you. It's not you. It's a ChatGPT's version of you, which you should be very, 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 careful. So when we look at the profile photo, it's interesting. In South Africa, it's legal. There are countries in the world where it's not legal. For instance, in the UK, they don't allow photographs on CVs. And I do understand it. It's to avoid discrimination, so that the reader of the CV can say, "Oh no, I don't like that. I don't like that person, or I don't like the color of the person or the gender of the person." Yes, so I do understand, the reasoning behind it. Fortunately, in South Africa, it is legal, and we recommend it because South Africa is really a wonderful, dynamic space to live in. And yes, for people having, exposed to some form of discrimination, whether it's on a race basis or whether it's on a gender basis, it can be very hurtful if there has been any kind of incident of such a nature that you feel, there's been this discriminated against you. But I would like to give you good news. South Africa, we've moved on. And even in the conservative agricultural industry, and believe me, there's still some serious conservative spaces. But in general, the food industry's moved on a long time ago already. So with the food and the agricultural industry have moved forward, and they will appreciate the photograph because it tells also something about you. And now if you decide, yes, you would like to have a photo on your CV, please select or make sure that you obtain a photo of yourself that's professional. I think that must be the first thing that comes to mind. Friendly. We often see people taking selfies, and then you can see how they struggle to concentrate, to just, smile, or no, oh, I'm not smiling. Oh, well, whatever. I'm just going to use this photo. And I've decided not to put examples of, not appropriate or inappropriate photos. I just would like to share with you how important a photo can be. And it must be preferably of the friendly person that you are. And if you're a serious introvert and you very rarely smile, you can still smile. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should show teeth, but the fact is, people would like to engage with somebody that looks like an engaging type of person. Okay. So when it gets to what you are wearing, we always say just keep it professional. And again, when you look at the job that's on offer, if it is, for instance, like the case that, or the photograph of the beautiful lady in her gumboots, sitting in I'm not sure even what that is. It looks like she's pruning or she's harvesting something in the horticultural space. But this is quite a nice photo because she's not showing teeth and smile, but she's got this self-confident, content smile, and she's doing what she loves. So this is a good example of a photo, a profile photo that can work. Otherwise, again, keep it simple. There are some examples here. So this happy guy with his very nice bow tie, that photo can work because it shows that he's happy and he's relaxed and he's professional. However, if he is applying for let's say for a factory management position, then I would say, dress up for the job. I'm not saying, go into the factory and, put on your gumboots and walk around there, but, it's not going to be conducive for you to use that photograph when you apply for a job that's going to require you in an operational space. So maybe you can consider just a different photo, just smiling toward, looking at the camera, friendly but ready, to take on the job. Then there's one comment that I would like to make in terms of photographs in graduation attire. So obviously, it is such a huge accomplishment to obtain your qualification. And yes, the day that you actually graduate is one of the happiest days in your life, and you will always remember it. But when it gets to your CV and, now, heading towards the wonderful dynamic and sometimes undynamic world of work, think twice before you put a CV on your CV, the photograph of you in your graduate attire. For freshly graduates, yes, but then you must really be freshly graduate. So let's say, November you're ending, finalizing your last exams, and March, April, you'll be graduating. Then it's fine if you're applying really for a first job or an internship. But you will be surprised to know how many CVs we receive where the graduation photo remains on the CV even after 3, 4, 5 years of experience. And in Mayela and my experience is that we know now that when companies get the CVs and they open it on their screens, or some of them printed, but hopefully most open it on their screens. And when they see that, there's the profile photo of a graduate, and in their mind, they're screening now for 2 to 3 years experience, then they'll just pass or delete that CV. Because they think, oh, well, no, he or she doesn't have experience. So just be very careful. And if you really want to do that, you can do that. But I'm just warning you, or just making you aware of the fact that the reader of your CV, may be judgmental and say, oh, wonderful, got a degree, but no experience. And it's not true. So we'll also get to more details about that. So when it gets to a profile summary, so we always recommend, and you'll see that in most of the templates nowadays, there's space for a profile summary, and we love it, we support it. But there are many aspects about a profile summary that can really make you stand out, or can really just result in the reader of your CV wondering, who is this person now really? So keep it short, 3 to 4 lines. Use authentic language. I can't emphasize this enough. And this is, again, you'll hear the word AI or ChatGPT or whatever AI software you're using. But it must be your language. Obviously you can use AI to improve your grammar. I mean, we all do it, but just be so careful to let ChatGPT write your CV, because ChatGPT wants to do that. He or she loves to do that. But then all the people look the same. They spit out the same candidate all along. So be very careful. We'll touch on a few examples of the profile summary. But I'm going to mention it. There must be reference to you as a person and what you've studied, or what you've already accomplished. If I'm a food scientist, then you say food scientist, or final year food scientist student, or whatever the case is. And you must also mention the strengths and the value you bring, or the value that you can bring to the company. So yes, the CV is about you. It is your CV. But the CV must be about the company's needs. That's the only way that they will be interested in you. If they say, oh, here is somebody that can, sort of resolve some of the issues we have, and help us to find solutions for whatever our problems are. There you have it. Avoid jargon or overly sophisticated AI text. So let's move on to some examples. So we often get CVs that will not say it's a profile summary or any summary, but they'll say objective. So the objective probably means it's the candidate's objective. So it's all about me, 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 me. So look at this. Looking for an exciting and dynamic role where I can utilize my skills and experience to drive tangible results. Passionate about sustainability and food security. I would like to join an organization that fosters, I hate that word, a culture of innovation, continuous learning, and personal growth. So do you agree with me that this candidate or this graduate or this student looking for a job has not shared any information about him or herself other than passionate about sustainability and food security? So, I can't, start to, even count how many CVs we get this. The words passionate about sustainability and food security. So sustainability, yes, obviously that's the name of the game in agriculture in future, because production must be sustainable in order to be more profitable, in order to be more successful. And food security, well, although it's quite a big topic, but it's about availability of enough, sufficient, and safe food. So yes, obviously it's applicable for a food scientist. But if you dare to say, I'm passionate about sustainability and food security, you need to be a little bit more specific. I mean, why do you say that? Have you attended the course, at online course, that could demonstrate that, you're really focused on that's going to be your field of specialization in future? All I'm saying is that, to just drop in a sentence like that, it's too vague. And is it really about what you can bring to a company? What does it help the company now that you're passionate about sustainability and food security, unless you really have a proven track record in those fields of specialization? And then the last one, I would like to join an organization that fosters a culture of innovation, continuous learning, and personal growth. So this is all about me, 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 me. So you have, or this person has not demonstrated to the reader of the CV, to the HR, or to the the person that's evaluating the CVs, what you bring to the table. It's only about what your expectations are, and this is the danger of using the word objective. So let's now look at an example of what I believe could work well. So here is one. I'm a detailed-oriented horticulturist with experience in the fruit production and crop protection industries. Okay, agreed. This is now for a candidate that has been working for 2 years. And now, important. What do I have? Who am I? I have excellent interpersonal and communication skills. I can collaborate effectively with customers and solve problems as they arise. If I'm employing, somebody in the horticulture industry for whatever the job is, this profile will definitely get my attention. I like the problem solver aspect. So if you are a good problem solver, and by now all of you know you're either good at it or not. And if you're not good at problem solving, there are other things you are good at, and then you need to mention it. So just an example. Here's another one. A food scientist with a strong interest, and you can be, when you graduate, you're a food scientist. So go with me through this one. A food scientist with a strong interest in fruit and vegetable processing and practical experience in food safety and quality assurance, quality assurance within the vegetable industry, gained during student holidays. I'm people-oriented, optimistic, flexible, and responsible, with excellent communication and interpersonal skills. Naturally proactive, I'm an efficient problem solver. So there you go. Now, this is now the difference between the first one, who is all about me, with this one, telling the person who reads the CV, this is what you get, and this is what I can do for your company. So your work experience, sorry, I skipped one. Yeah, so all these were examples of practical skills-based profiles, and this is the recommended way to do it. And there you go, 3 important, points that you can remember. Highlight your specific expertise and experience. And even if you're a graduate without, much experience, you can highlight some of the experience that you gained during your practical year or practicals that you've done, something that's really you are passionate about. Then you will take an interest in that. And I've used some examples, food safety or new product development, or on the production and on the operational side. Even if you only had the opportunity to, spend some time with the company, like a job shadowing situation, and that resonated with you and you liked it, then you can say that. I mean, this is what I enjoyed. Very important is the transferable skills. So that's the communication, collaboration, problem solving. These are the skills that companies are looking for. You must show your value to a company in a clear, tangible way. Okay. So the other important content aspect of a CV is work experience. So obviously it's your golden ticket to a job. And as I said, in one of the earlier slides, yes, companies require 2 to 3 years experience, but how will, a candidate gain or a graduate gain experience if they don't get employed? But this is why it's so important for you, for us from today. Make sure that you utilize any possible opportunity to engage with the industry, like you're doing today. You can put today's webinar on your CV. If you attend Agri-Career Connect events that we will also again be organizing at University of Pretoria, Stellenbosch and Joburg, Johannesburg, add it to your CV because it demonstrates that you are keen to engage with the industry whenever you get the opportunity. No practical experience during studies. I mean, this is also sometimes hard for students to find job opportunities in their field of study, because it's not easy to get such opportunity. But then, if you can't manage to find a student holiday work opportunity in your field of study, take any opportunity, even if it's in a pharmacy, to work at the cash register. And the reason why I'm saying that is you will obtain some life skills there, because you are dealing with the public. And for those of you who have been working as a waitress or a waiter or a barman, will know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to learn to work with rude people and very fast. And you are going to encounter rude people in the workspace as well. Don't shy away from any work that you do outside of your studies whenever the opportunity arises, because you gain life skills. Important when you start listing your experience, and if it's student holiday work, in the beginning of your career, you'll say, holiday work and maybe in brackets during student holidays. You always list the experience. You start with the most recent one at the top, and then you work down. Again, include any part-time job or voluntary job or holiday work or job shadowing that you did. And yeah, in your CV there it's again, highlight your transferable skills, but be careful to make that list too long, because then there's sort of a credibility issue around it. Can this really be this, perfect person? Be honest with yourself and, your strong skills that you have, whether it's communication, whether it's that you're a problem solver or that you're a resilient person, you mention it. Don't make it up or don't make it your wish list. Be honest with yourself. And again, back to the extrovert introvert debate. The life and the industry, we need both of these two personality types. If you're an introvert, don't shy away from the fact that you're an introvert, and you've got other very important characteristics that the extrovert, sometimes lack, which make them sometimes very, difficult to work with, because I think they can get away with big smiles and loud talking. Okay. So just a little bit more focus on industry interaction. You can even in your CV create a separate section and you can call it industry interaction, because this is what a company wants to see. Have you gone out of your way, to make contact with industry and to start to understand what industry wants and what's happening out there? And I've already mentioned it, if you have, the opportunity to end conferences, whether they're online or, in person, or seminars, Agri-Career Connect events, Safol's Career Roadshow is another good example. You add it to your CV. And as you move along with your career, then gradually you'll see some of the industry interaction activities can fall apart, because by then we will have more substantial experience that you can report. I'm talking so much. So if anybody tried to ask a question, I'm sure it wasn't possible because I just keep on talking. Okay. Yeah, so that's show your initiative and engagement. I think that's very important. And then you mention it, you boast with it in your CV. So here I've got a list of final CV tips. So yes, you've heard that, this presentation will be made available. So, you will have the presentation. And I think this page, really is a good summary as well, of the sort of the detail, the small print. Proofread carefully. Please, please, please. Yes, I am old school. Yes, I am so irritated if I receive a CV with spelling errors and poor grammar and formatting. You won't believe it. Check it. And there's no excuse. There are so many tools, to your avail to do that. With basic spell check programs, and even, I hate to say it, but true, you can use AI to check your grammar, but be careful, because AI wants the CV, your CV their way. It must be your CV, not their CV. To tailor each CV, yes, I agree with that, and that in general, it is a good thing to focus on what is the job, what's the requirements of the job, what experience do they need. With tailor each CV, we certainly don't mean that you must just put in some of the things that they said that they want in the job ad. They're going to catch you out in the interview, because they are going to ask you for examples. So be very careful. Tailor each CV. In other words, read through the job description so that you understand what they want. Yes, of course, you're not going to be completely compatible, because nobody will be completely compatible to what they want. But if you can tick a few of those boxes, then you have a good chance to be considered. So you definitely are allowed to adapt your CV so that you can at least focus on the aspects that you proudly know that you are complying with. Keep your CV current. It's very frustrating to receive CVs of candidates, you know, that they were always at the last job or the latest job, say, you know, they're working at this company since January 2024 to current, up to current. And then, you know, when we interview them, you know, we learn that they've resigned, you know, a year ago, and since then they have not had a job. It's never wise to try and disguise or hide this kind of information. It will come out. Keep it current and updating your CV regularly, because there are regularly things happening. You know, you've maybe visited a food manufacturing company. Then you mention it, because it demonstrates again your you know, ability to and willingness to you know, to participate in opportunities like this. Okay, so when you start looking for jobs, you know, towards the end of the year, and you know, it is hard. It is hard to find the entry-level job. So it's a good thing to start early. And this is why I say, for those of you who do not have a CV yet, you will have one after today. And when you start sending CVs out, you know, don't take it personally when you don't get a response. And this is why, for exactly, you know, that reason is that companies are just so swamped, and you know, the HR person has such a huge portfolio to manage and to, you know, just the basic things, you know, in a company, that the recruitment side is very daunting for them. So they're not necessarily going to respond, say, yay, you know, we thank you for your application, you know, we will let you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, normally it's just hardcore silence, and it's hard. Get it, move on, focus on the next opportunity. But the most important thing is, don't give up. Stay persistent in your approach. It takes time. Keep on applying and refining your approach, because you know, as you go along, you sort of learn how to respond, or, you know, how to approach a company. And obviously, you know, we will always try our best to help, but you also have to, you know, find your own way as well, and try and find opportunities. Oh, we've been there. Okay, so talking about AgriCareer Connect, for those of you who've attended some of our events in the past, so AgriCareer Connect is exactly what its name says. So it is, you know, we bring the industry to the campus, and we invite a group of students from specific fields of specialization, and it's a very nice meetup, and info lively panel talks. And there will be like a small expo, but it's not the expo that, you know, that some open days, you know, the format of open days. And the importance of this is that the companies will, you know, give a short overview of who they are and why they are, you know, at the university on that day, because they would like to engage about graduates. And also they would like to share with third and final year students and graduates. They would like to share with them what job opportunities are available, you know, in their specific companies. So it's really very, very helpful to attend this, because one learns a lot. And also students can ask questions. I mean, so, and I think that's also valuable, so that you as a student and a graduate, you know, can really start to understand how the industry thinks, and that will help you in your approach, you know, how to find that entry-level opportunity. Sorry, I'm not done yet. Okay, so yeah, so we are focused on agriculture and food. So you know, it's definitely the agricultural and food value chain. So there will be 3 sessions at University of our UP, our dear UP, on Wednesday, the 19th of August. focusing on horticulture and crops and soil science and, the agronomy part, in a production and more technical session. A session which will be of extreme interest for you can be session 2 and also maybe session 3. And the reason why I'm saying that, so session 2, sorry, is commercial, more on the commercial side, value chain and food. So there you'll find, food manufacturing, you will find food, fresh produce pack houses, exporters, more on the trading side as well, retailers. And the animal industry is actually very interesting. So AgriJobs got quite a good involvement with industry organizations, as you've known with SAFOST. We're working together as far as possible where we can. And we also have a good relationship with the Fresh Produce Exporters Forum. So we manage a graduate placement program on their behalf. And also we're quite involved with AFMA. It's the Animal Feed Manufacturers Association. And yes, food scientists are finding sometimes opportunities in the animal feed industry. So yes, it will be in your interest to also come and maybe attend that session, and you might be surprised, to hear what they are looking for. So this is just a wonderful opportunity. Closer to the time, there will be more information, and we work closely with various departments, in the NAS faculty, and there will also be industrial engineering students, also, people talking about industrial engineering. And, this is also of interest for food scientists to understand, the world of industrial engineering, because it's no longer a matter of the world of industrial engineering and the world of food science. There's a wonderful integration of disciplines that's just continuing as we speak, and the same with commerce and on the artificial AI, artificial intelligence. I almost said artificial insemination, and that's for the animal industry. And so for all these specialized fields, it is very important to start hearing each other, because you are going to work with industrial engineers, and industrial engineers are going to work with food scientists. And between the two groups, we can really make miracles in the food and the agricultural industry. We also invite commerce students, so that will be typically BCom, marketing, supply chain management, which might also be of interest for you, because as many of you who attended one of my previous presentations, we really talk a lot about integrated disciplines, and that it's not for everybody a journey to do a master's degree, but maybe rather look at an additional integrated discipline and upskill yourself with an additional qualification. Not necessarily a degree again, but there are many opportunities to do, courses online, or at, some of these many tertiary training colleges that will really add value to your skill set. Okay, so just the last few words on AgriJobs. So yes, it's a agricultural and food careers portal. We've got a section where candidates who are job seekers can register, and then also browse and view the jobs and internships that we have available and apply online. We have a career guide, which is due for an upgrade, but no, not upgrade, upgrade and an update. But you'll still find valuable information there. We also have a blog on our website. And important thing is that, you can register on our portal and reach out to us. Reach out to us, when you're in need, when the time comes and you're in need of a job. We are there. We are there. We are here. Okay, so thank you very much. That was now lots of talking. And if there are any questions, you are most welcome. And my colleague Mayela is also with me. and she's even more experienced than I am with CVs. So any questions about CVs, Mayela will have a sensible response for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marianne. So I think what we can do is we can actually let people raise their hands if they have a question. We have about 4 minutes left in the
Oh,
call.
my goodness.
And then, but I mean, if there are any other questions, they can just send them anyway. And then we will forward them to you and you can answer them, and we will actually make sure that everyone even hears, gets the answer. So I love the black garlic picture you have there. That's very nice there. Anyway, but I mean, are there any people who would like to ask a question? Please feel free, raise your hands, and then Tsetse will unmute you. So Wayne has asked something. One of the issues I have run into when designing my CV is the length thereof. Am I limited to one page or can I add more?
Thank you, Wayne. That's a very good question. So, you know, from our perspective, we have some guidelines, but you know, obviously that's everybody's own decision. So, you know, in the beginning of your career, we would think that one page is sufficient. However, if you had the wonderful opportunity of doing many, you know, holiday jobs or many other you know, part-time jobs in between, and then there's no space. If it's only, then you need to go to 2 pages. So and in general terms, we say maximum 2 to 3 pages. So 3 pages will really be for a person with, you know, with extensive experience. So I hope I'm answering your question. 1 page is perfect, but if you have more to report, and you know, with that, you know, you can also make contact with us. We can give you an indication of the length of your experience, but you know, to do it in bullet form is the best. And you know, try not to repeat too many things in the bullets. You know, be really you know, specific in terms of the type of experience. But yeah, rather mention it than not mentioning it.
I actually have a question, Marianne. So when people submit CVs, I have received quite a number of people sending their CVs to us as well, although we're not obviously giving jobs or anything like that. But even in my previous company, I received CVs. People don't attach their certificates on it. I mean, if they've actually completed food science or something like that, they don't attach a copy of that on it. And yeah. I was under the impression that if you have a CV and you claim that you've done certain things, you've got to also, well, I mean, I don't think you have to sort of add probably every single, you know, short course that you've done. But I mean, the main things I think are quite important, or aren't they?
So Ingrid, you know, the general rule is that in your CV, you mention the qualification and also, you know, give specifics and again, spelling and the correct name of the course or the program, and also the year that you obtained it. And also, you know, similar to the experience, you start with the latest qualification at the top. And if you're still busy with your masters, you say you're busy with your masters and expected completion date. We don't expect candidates to immediately, you know, send us copies of their qualification. So we assume what they tell us in their CV is the truth. In South Africa, however, or I think it's worldwide, you know, there is an issue of fraud. So there are people who you know, will and easily they you know, they manage to you know, to draft or copy a degree certificate. So what happens at AgriJob and also at many companies is once you are on the shortlist and you are going through the interview process, then we do an official verification check of your qualifications. So we will ask you for a copy, a physical copy, because, you know, the verification, the independent verification company will require that. But then they will make contact with the institution to verify whether, you know, this candidate has obtained that specific qualification. So that's the reason why we don't encourage, you know, to add copies of certificates to a CV unless you specifically ask for it. So let's say you really need, need a specific qualification for a specific job, then you can say, you know, send us also a copy of your qualification. And then that obviously can be verified. But most companies, and even when we submit or present candidates to companies, we don't send copies of qualifications yet. We wait for them to give us feedback. And only when we're going through the, you know, the final process, then we will, then the verification of the qualifications will happen.
Thanks. Anyone else with questions? Anyway, it's past our hour. Okay, so Wayne also said here, with regards to CV creation, is it necessary to add a skills section or a list of, or can we mention them in the profile?
Sorry, Ingrid, you broke up just for a while. So a list of?
He wants, yeah, sorry. He wants to know whether there should be a skills section, or can he just mention it in the profile?
Well, yeah. So Wayne, so sorry, because of limit.
You know, any skills? Is there a skills section that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I did not have time to, you know, to show you an example of a template, because, you know, there are many. But yes, most templates make provision for skills. Yes, of course. And the same with education. And I've just briefly mentioned that, you know, always start with the latest qualification at the top. Definitely mention additional courses, because additional courses will be growing. That's a live document. But always start with the latest at the top. Yeah, so the way that, you know, my presentation, I really wanted to focus on the core issues of, you know, what should be in, in your CV, things that you have to, you know, compile and write and put in there. But the basic things, you know, should be there. And even your matriculation, you know, we don't expect, you know, all the subjects and the symbols that you've achieved, but, you know, just mention the, you know, the high school or the training institution where you obtained your matric and the year, because sometimes companies also want to verify that. But definitely your skills will be listed separately, the references. So there are many aspects that we haven't covered today, because I thought really to focus on content, and especially the profile, because it's really so important. But obviously you can mention some of your skills in your profile, as you've heard today, because, you know, you must focus on what value you bring for a company. Ingrid, so you're on mute, Ingrid. Ingrid, you're mute.
Shame. I see there's someone who's, yeah, sorry, there's someone who's just actually coming in when we're ending. But I just want to say thank you very much, Maria. I think what we'll do is end here now. You will share your slides with us, and then we'll send that to all the people who registered, because I see that very few in the end managed to get on the call. But I know that this is something that everyone needs, and it will be of value. So thank you very much again for all your input here. And if there are any other questions, they can actually to you directly, or even leave it in the chat as well. And we will forward it to you, and then I will send the questions anyway to you, so you can answer them as well for the people who aren't on the call now. So thank you very much again, Mariana. we'll see you again, I'm sure, quite soon. And thanks also for sharing that event that you guys are doing at UP. I think that some of the students will probably very much benefit by attending that. So yeah, it will be great if you can leave it in your slides that we will share. So
Yes.
thank you. And also thank you for everyone attended. We will see the next webinar.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for the organizers. Okay. Cheerio.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.